everybody, Ace Channel Liam here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome back to my series where I'm going through each of the 8 Pokemon regions and listing my top 10 favorite Pokemon from those regions. We did take kind of a 2-week break from this series just because I wanted to do my 2019 review video and I wanted to get that out, make sure that's done at the start of the year, obviously. And also I wanted to do Slowpoke versus Galarian Slowpoke form fight while the iron was hot. Very good idea, Liam. Past Liam did really well. Good lad. Good lad. If you've not watched that farm fight yet, by the way, go watch it. It's dead good. But we are back on this train, and the train has taken us to Alola, which doesn't really make sense because Alola's a bunch of islands and you can't really get there by train, but Alola! But before we get into my top 10 Pokemon from Alola, please make sure you hit like on the video. Let's go for 1,000 likes on this one, and of course hit subscribe if you're new so you never miss one of these videos or any of the videos on my channel. And as always, don't forget, use code ACE to save yourself some money on G Fuel. Golden apple pear. Very nice. Very nice, yes. Code ACE. Do it. Please. Help me. Please. But without further ado, here is my list of my top 10 favorite Pokemon from the Alola region. Number 10, NAGANADEL. Now look, I know saying NAGANADEL is wrong. I know it's not NAGANADEL. According to the anime, it's like NAGANADEL or something stupid. And that just, I get that it kind of sounds a bit more like needle, and that's probably why it's pronounced that way. But no, NAGANADEL. It sounds cooler. It sounds like a monster. NAGANADEL just sounds dumb. Don't care. It's really fast. It's really powerful. Beast Boost makes it either even faster or even more powerful. It's insane to look at. It's got a freaking beautiful shiny. This thing's just fantastic. It's the best Ultra Beast, that's for sure. Like, it's just so cool. What's not to like about this Pokemon? Apart from the bloody name. Number 9, Kommo-o. Kommo-o is cool, okay? I know that's not a very descriptive word these days, but it's cool. I love the scaly design of it. You know, it's got that suit of armor vibe going on with it that's really, really awesome to look at. It's got a cool signature move in the form of Clanging Scales, which is a 110 base power dragon type move that hits all of your opponents and lowers your defense slightly, but, you know, small price to pay for such a cool looking move. Of course, it does have a really cringy Z move called Like, whoever named that, well done. You done goofed. You done made the cringiest sounding Pokemon move name I've ever heard in my life. That's almost as cringy as when someone uses Doom Desire and the game goes, "This Pokemon chose Doom Desire as its destiny." It's just cringe. It's stuff like that reminds me that I'm playing a kid's game, right? That takes me as an adult right out of Pokemon. I'm like, oh, that's a bit much for me. Okay. But don't worry. Pokemon in Generation 8's got you covered, because Pokemon in Generation 8 decided, let's kind of keep that move in, but not have it as a Z move, but slightly tweak it. So now, Kommo-o has a move that can increase all of its stats in exchange for 1/3 of its maximum HP. And, you know, to make sure it wasn't too similar to the Z move, they decided to give it a very different name in the form of I love you, Kommo-o, but god damn it, you're cringy. Number 8, TOUCANNON. Let's list the reasons why TOUCANNON is badass. It's a toucan Pokemon. I didn't know I wanted a toucan Pokemon. Now I've got one. It looks mean as all hell. Really aggressive looking toucan, which I didn't think toucans could look aggressive, but apparently they can. It gets Skill Link as an ability, which means that Rock Blast, Fury Attack, Bullet Seed, they all hit guaranteed 5 times in a row, which is really, really cool and a little bit broken. It brought in a brand new signature ability that's freaking awesome called Beak Blast, which is a 100 base power, 100% accuracy flying type stab move for our lovely friend TOUCANNON, that if your opponent hits it while it's in the charging stage at the start of the turn, like makes contact with it, the opponent gets burned and their attack gets crippled, and obviously they take burn damage. That's just amazing. It's just really, really cool. What a cool way to make a toucan something that's actually useful in the Pokemon world. It was great. Weird that it evolved from Pikipek, which kind of was going down the woodpecker route, but I'm not going to argue about that. I really like our toucan Pokemon, and I think it's an absolute boss. Number 7, Araquanid. Araquanid has really grown on me. In the Generation 7 games, didn't really use it that much, to be honest. But in Generation 8, got myself a Dewpider, got myself an Araquanid, and I'm really, really loving using it. It's got one of my favorite abilities now, which is Water Bubble, which is exclusive to Araquanid, where basically the Water Bubble on its head protects it against Fire-type attacks, so it takes half damage from Fire-type attacks and can't be burned, but also does double damage with its Water-type moves, which granted, it hasn't got a lot of offensive power behind it, but that makes its Water-type moves that little bit more offensively viable. Obviously, it gets access to Liquidation, which can lower the defense of the opponent, which obviously will then make its attack hit even harder. So it's got some merit to it, and it's a fairly bulky Pokemon, and I really like its design. I think it's a really, really cool design. So it may have taken me like 3 years to finally give you a chance, Araquanid, but you know what? I'm so glad I did. Number 6, Passimian. I gotta say, I love some ruffled lemurs. I've met some in my time and they're really, really nice. So to see one in Pokemon form is friggin' awesome. And that's what we got with Passimian. And obviously the sporting theme is pretty cool as well. It's got that little berry thing, fruit thing that it uses as like a, I guess as a football, American style football, or is it a volleyball? Don't really know. I remember in the leaks for Sun and Moon back in 2016, it was defined as a rugby monkey. Which isn't quite accurate, but sure. I mean, if we're being super pedantic, I guess we could call it a volleyball strepsirrhini. Is that right? Probably. I think I've said that in a video before, and I'm not sure if that's accurate, but I'll go with it. Granted, as much as I love Passimian for its design, it is kind of outclassed by a lot of other fighting types, but it does get a cool ability in the form of Receiver, where it can receive a fainted Pokemon's ability, making it a little bit more interesting, but then still kind of outclassed by a lot of other things. I don't know many people with a sound Passimian strategy, but it's just so cool. I can't really fault it because I just think it's so incredibly cool as a Pokemon. And it gives me massive Final Fantasy X vibes because it reminds me of Waka, which is interesting because Alola's greeting that goes, Alola, is very similar to the greeting in Final Fantasy X where everyone goes, praise be to Yevon. You know what I mean? So maybe there's a little bit of Final Fantasy inspiration. Inspiration, he says. He's talking bollocks, and that's why he's stumbling over his words. That's Ace Trainer Liam to a T, isn't it? Just called myself out. Number 5, Ribombee. I won't keep you long on Ribombee because basically the long story short of it is focus sash it, job's a good'un. But seriously, it's a very, very fast Pokemon. It's a very, very fragile Pokemon. It's actually faster than Noivern, which is pretty insane. And it's got decent special attack as well, so it's very much a glass cannon of a Pokemon, and Bug and Fairy is quite an interesting typing, I suppose. It does have, and I will always praise this Pokemon for this, one of the best signature moves in all of Pokemon, which is Pollen Puff. Pollen Puff, of course, is a 90 base power bug type special attack that damages your opponent, but then if you use it on an ally, it will heal the ally. And I just absolutely love that. More moves like that, please, Game Freak. Although that would probably break the game if they added too many moves that did that of different types. So, no, you know what? Just keep it with Pollen Puff. That makes it even cooler if it's the only one. Along with Shield Dust and Sweet Veil as abilities, which can be very useful in their own right. Just love some Ribombee. It's adorable. What's not to like about it? Number 4, BRUXISH. I'm just gonna say it. Shut up. No, for real though, shut it. This thing, I hear all of y'all out there saying that this thing's ugly, that this thing's disgusting, that it's got big teeth. What's wrong with big teeth, eh? What's wrong with big teeth, eh? There's nothing wrong with big teeth, all right? Big teeth do not mean ugly, all right? This is all me. No, this isn't about me. This is about BRUXISH, okay? And BRUXISH is beautiful. It's psychedelic, it's wonderful. It's probably on all of the drugs, which I don't really agree with, but don't really know why I used that as a point. Just went against everything I believe in, but sure. This is to defend a cartoon fish, so it's really, really important. Oh God, I sound like Twitter. Oh dear. Okay, if we're gonna go like Twitter, then we have to say it. BRUXISH deserves your respect, okay? BRUXISH is a wonderful Pokemon. It's great, it's got great attack. It's not the fastest Pokemon, so it doesn't always get a chance to use it, but it's just wonderful. It's got Strong Jaw, which is a great ability that makes its biting moves even stronger, which, you know, for things like Crunch, for things like Ice Fang, for things like Psychic Fangs, which takes down Aurora Veil and stuff like that, it's a really cool option to have. It's a great Pokemon. You can give it the Dazzle ability, which blocks priority moves, which people often forget that BRUXISH has, so then it completely throws off their strategy. It's great. I love me some BRUXISH, and it's got a beautiful shiny as well. It's one of the greatest, it's not one of the greatest Pokemon, but it's a great Pokemon. It's one of the greatest Pokemon to come out of Alola. I absolutely love this thing, in spite of what everyone says about it. Number 3, Mimikyu. Alright, certainly from a lore perspective, this thing takes the cake. We finally have a Ghost and Fairy type Pokemon that after years and years of seeing Pikachu be the be-all and end-all of Pokemon, the most popular Pokemon in all of Pokemon. It's on the magazines, it's in the anime, it's in all of the movies, it's on the cover of the other magazines because I've run out of forms of media. It's on all the websites, it's in all the Pokemon games. Everything is Pikachu, 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 Pikachu for 20 plus years. And then this Ghost type just went,
oh, fuck it. If I'm gonna be popular, hand me that rag. I'll just look like a Pikachu.
And completely fails to look like a Pikachu across the board. You could tell me until you're blue in the face that that weird head thing on top of Mimikyu looks like a Pikachu. It barely looks like a Pikachu. Like, from far away, maybe. But no, it's not even the right color. Like, it's just dumb. But you've got to give Mimikyu credit from a lore perspective for doing the thing that all the other Pokemon probably should have tried at some point in the last 20 years. I'm just waiting until someone does it for Charizard or for Meowth. But ability-wise, of course, Mimikyu gets the Disguise ability, which protects Mimikyu from one hit before its disguise breaks, and then, you know, it's effectively like a free substitute, which is really cool. I know everybody's whinging online because in Generation 8, when the disguise breaks, it now does 1/8 of damage to Mimikyu, so Focus Sash Mimikyu is no more. Don't care, like, there are worse things happen in the world than Mimikyu taking 1/8 of damage on the first hit. Just get over it. Just use a different Mimikyu strategy, you big baby. Not to mention, Mimikyu using Swords Dance and Shadow Sneak, or Swords Dance and Wood Hammer and stuff like that are really cool strategies as well. There's plenty of ways you can go with Mimikyu, and it's just really fun to use, and it's a really cool looking Pokemon, and it has a great typing. I really love this thing, and I just think it's bloody great. Number 2, Incineroar. Now, I've talked a million times, maybe not a million, but a lot of times, about how much I love Incineroar and the lore behind it, and how it's a heal in wrestling, although how the Pokemon lore behind it doesn't quite work with it being a heal in wrestling because it's kind of convoluted. But let's talk about just how cool this Pokemon really is. Just cool, innit? No, I love this thing. I think Dark and Fire is a great typing. I think it's an underrated typing. Like, yeah, it's got quite a few weaknesses, but it's really fun to use and gives you a lot of decent stab coverage. It gets access to a fantastic move pool, including things like Drain Punch, including things like Leech Life, which has just been given such a great new lease of life in Generation 7 and onwards. Like, bumping that thing up to 80 base power was just an absolute, beautiful idea, Game Freak. Well done. It gets Intimidate as its hidden ability, which whilst it's been buffed in Generation 8, I feel like the amount of people that are going to be expecting people to bring Intimidate Pokemon is eventually going to go down, which is then going to see a resurgence in Intimidate being used and people going, oh, no one uses Intimidate anymore, so I won't bother blocking against it, and stuff like that. So it could have a comeback at some point. Looks-wise, it just oozes cool. Like, it's a really cool Pokemon. I know a lot of people believe that Torracat should have stayed on all fours because we don't have enough starter Pokemon that remain on all fours. To me, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me that much. Like, Incineroar looks like a cool kind of henchman from an old like 80s or 90s cartoon series, so I'm totally down with that. I think that's badass. I mean, it looks a bit like a Thundercat, I suppose, which I don't find as cool, but some people might. But in my humble opinion, which is why you guys are here, to criticize my humble opinion, so go ahead, I don't give a damn. I love Incineroar, and that's all that matters. I think it's absolute boss. I think it's badass. I think it's amazing, and I just really bloody like it, all right? I've said it. And number 1, BEWEAR! Of course it's BEWEAR. Of course. I mean, look at the fucker. It's really, really cute. And it's really adorable. It's got that kind of emotionless face a lot of the time, which just makes it a little bit more intimidating than a giant pink bear should be. I know when it was first released, people were a bit reluctant to say that they liked BEWEAR, because obviously there was all the pedo bear references, because it's a giant human-sized bear that could, in effect, pick up a child and carry it away. We don't like that. We don't bring that stuff into our Pokemon. That's for other Pokemon YouTubers to do. We don't do that shit over here. Thank you very much. What we do is we respect BEWEAR for what it is, because what it is an amazing Pokemon. Granted, it's not great in battle. It can have its moments, but let's be real. No one's in a hurry to use a BEWEAR in their team. I want to use one, but I just haven't found the right niche for it just yet. But its fluffy ability is very interesting because it gives it, you know, a bit of defense against physical moves, but then also makes it a little bit weaker to fire. So that's a very interesting play on a little teddy bear, a little fluffy teddy bear. And its shiny is absolutely beautiful. Love this thing. And if you've not watched it already, go and watch the Sun and Moon anime all the way from start to finish, because it's a great series for a start. And also, BEWEAR's the best thing in it. BEWEAR's fantastic in that anime, and it made me love this Pokemon that I already loved even more. So that's my list of my top 10 favorite Alola Pokemon. Let me know down in the comments what your top 10 favorite Alola Pokemon are, and don't forget to like the video, hit subscribe if you're new so you never miss any of my content, turn on notifications if you haven't as well. Use code ACE for money off G Fuel, and if you want to support the channel like these lovely people down here do, pledge to my Patreon, patreon.com/AceTrainerLiam. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.